I've been using the Milwaukee Packouts since they first arrived on the scene several years ago, and I've been adding to my collection since then. They really have revolutionized how my workflow in my shop proceeds, how I pack for trips, how I store tools and fluids when I go four-wheeling. And today I'm going to share with you guys what I use these for, what I store in here, and why I think they deserve a place in your shop. I am a Milwaukee ambassador, meaning that they send me tools and things to use when they're in pre-launch. I have no skin in the game with this. I'm not making any money off this video. I'm not going to make money if you guys buy these things. It's just me passing along information about a product that really fit into my workflow and I think will work well with your workflow. I've got these set up as basically towers of different projects. I've got like a hydraulics and fittings box, I've got an electrical box, I've got a plumbing box, and these boxes, quote, towers, roll with me to the site at hand or the job at hand. So if I'm doing electrical work, I can roll the electrical box over, knowing that I've got all my fittings, I've got sensors, I've got adapters, I've got wires, I've got terminals, I've got relays, I've got fuses, all right next to me in these boxes. And for me, it just keeps everything organized. I know where everything's gonna be. I can quickly at a glance see if I'm low on something. The tabletop, the worktop is great too. Let's take a dive into what I've got. Let me quickly break it down. This right here is my camping box. That's what I've got all my gear in for four-wheeling, for recovery, for overnight trips. Then I've got one that's going to have a lot of hardware. It's going to have 12-point hardware. It's going to have self-tappers. It's going to have AN fittings. This is my wiring. I also have some dedicated to camera gear. They've proven very useful for camera gear. But let's just jump in and I will show you what's in some of these things. This is the worktop that I was telling you guys about. And it does slide off and click on. You can probably see what this is full of. I've got my 18 to 20, my 16 to 14, and my 10 to 12, spade, ring, butt connectors, you name it, it's all in here. This is my quick grab bag when I need some electrical connectors. I carry this guy that contains all of my heat shrink. So I have, I'm a big believer in heat shrink and how it can clean up your electrical. So I've got an assortment. Obviously red is going to be for my high power stuff, and then I've got the clear, which after I've labeled the wire, I'm now dropping a clear over the top. So I label it, then I put a clear over it and heat shrink that, and I've got a perfect label that's going to be able to stay on that connector. This is the Deutsche connector, or Deutsche connectors. I love these things. They are really weatherproof, weather-tight. There's a nice positive seal in them. The pins are great. A lot of European companies and aftermarket companies use the Deutsche connectors, and I am a big fan of these. Like the Power Probe. This little piece of gear here, this guy, is incredibly helpful in testing electrical components, in troubleshooting, in finding shorts, in testing continuity. It's basically a multimeter on speed. If you're enjoying what you see and you want to see more, make sure you are subscribed to Merricks Garage. Click that button down below to keep updated and hit that bell so you get notifications when I drop a new video. And I'm using it to store all of my camera gear. So unfortunately, cameras require a ton of different chargers and all different types of connections and fittings, which is kind of a pain. And so keeping them all organized in one place that I'm always pulling things out of is great. This guy goes with me on my trips because it's got everything from my 360-degree camera to my microphone stuff to lenses to all my hard drives. This is what I am using for my electrical. So in here you're gonna see that I've got everything from terminal lugs to mega fuse containers to depinning tools, and then moving down, you can see I've got all my label making equipment. cable management, so everything from that Tessa tape that I love so much, to Velcro strips, to these little 3M connectors. And then moving up, I got a drawer of zip ties that just has tons of zip ties and everything that I could use, all the way up to my Deutsch connectors and my weather pack connectors that I pretty much try and wire exclusively into the truck. These are the Packouts that I use when I go on my trips. These are what I call my camping boxes. They're what has the majority of my camping gear in them. So here it is, just basic camping stuff like jet boils and my hammock, bug spray, wipes, things like that, flares. What do I have in this guy over here? I've still got some food left from my last trip, and a hatchet. You know, you're always gonna need a hatchet. But what makes these things nice is they are ready to go. I just load them into the truck, and I know that I have all my camping gear that I need for the trip already in here. These go right on top of the other Packouts, and I can access them easily, grab some pots and pans, and just throw something together really quickly while I'm out on the trail. This is the Packout that Milwaukee originally sent me when they first started doing this, and this has been through the war. This is what I use to carry all my fluids. I've pretty much got enough in here to do a full fluid change, along with recovery gear and small parts. This is my tool and small part Packout that goes on the trail with me. So in here, I'm gonna have everything from AN fittings and valve stems to tools. And what do I got in here? I think I got more zip ties, small parts, and I got U-joints, I got castle nuts, I got a whole bunch of stuff, wrenches, and spare wire. This is just my troubleshooting kit. This is my recovery Packout. So I'm gonna have everything from my air-lined tire pressure to tree strap to pulleys, snatch blocks, shackles, recovery gear, air lines to inflate tires, air hoses, and pretty much anything else that I think would be useful in self-extricating. This is the box that sees the most use in my shop. As you've seen by now, Milwaukee makes a ton of different Packouts, from these individual cases to these rack systems with drawers. They've got tons of options. The ones that specifically work the best for me are these 3 and 2 drawer systems. So when I talk about my rolling towers, it's these guys. I do use these a lot, but they don't serve the purpose of holding small parts for me as much as they serve the purpose of just carrying all the gear in one place. So these are great in the fact that they all have the same mounting system. So everything clicks together nicely. I mean, I can put this up on top of this guy. That's really cool. Although they do have a couple that don't have that feature, but you know what? That's okay. I don't need everything to be clicked together all the time. It's nice when they secure themselves together because I can lock them in my vehicle. So when we go four-wheeling and this stuff is in the back of the truck just open for anyone to take, it's nice that I can padlock them all down. And that's another cool thing. They do have this, let me see if I can figure out how to get this thing out. They do have this lock bar that locks everything down in together. So if you were going somewhere and you didn't want any drawers getting tampered with, you can lock everything together. The one thing I would change about these is I wish they would send more of the liners, the inserts. You only get enough inserts for one drawer. That just seems, for me particularly, if I'm going to be keeping things in here, it's going to be small parts. I'm not going to be putting something that is exactly the same size as the drawer in the drawer. So I need the dividers. I need the dividers in every drawer. I'd rather have too many dividers than not enough. And unfortunately, you have to buy those separately. Not the end of the world, but come on, Milwaukee. And then the wheelie roller, lockable, stackable. They carry a decent amount of weight. And when they are on one unit, It's a perfect height for a really nice rolly cart seat. This is what I use all the time because it's got my small parts in it. It's got hardware in it. Self-tappers, nutserts, Allen head bolts, assortment of grade 8, 3/8, half-inch, quarter-inch, 3/4-inch, washers, lock washers, big washers, fine thread, mostly grade 8. Then I've got all my 12-point hardware in here. Caps and clamps, everything that I'm needing and using all the time. Like these caps are great when I'm trying to plug off something that I don't want any contamination to get in. And obviously all the clamps I use for securing lines. Then moving up, I've got all my hardware, my brake fittings, my splitters, my junctions, hose clamps, any air fittings. These are air dryers for my air compressor. Moving up again, AN fittings, everything from large -10 to a male -6. Brass fittings. These guys I use whenever I'm running cable or anything into the engine or body. These help strain relief, and they help protect the cable from sharp sides on there. Brass fittings for airlines. And then up above I've got plenty of airlines. I've got all my protection. I've got all of brake fittings and coiled line and short line. And then I've got this still needs a little bit of work, but this is basically my hardware for square body. So I've got a lot of nuts and bolts and things that, special fasteners that are used with square bodies. And I've got door pin kits and flashers and relays and ignition tumblers and specific fasteners. My first Milwaukee tool I ever purchased was a Milwaukee Sawzall. I purchased a Sawzall, then I purchased one of their circular saws. Those were all corded because the M18 stuff really wasn't around that much. And a couple of years after that, I purchased my first M18 drill and an M18 impact. And I used those tools until they failed, pretty much, till they died. The impact wrench, I actually drove over and broke into like 30 pieces. I called them up, they said, send it back, let's see what we can do. So I shipped them a box full of broken parts. I'm not expecting anything, but 2 weeks later, a box showed up with a refurbished impact in it. They'd used the parts that were salvageable, like the anvil and things like that, and they'd replaced all the broken parts, free of charge. They didn't charge me for shipping, they didn't charge me for labor or parts or anything, and that left a mark on me. That was very, very impressive. The kind of customer service that you don't see that often anymore. So I reached out to them when my channel grew and I'd purchased more tools, and I said, hey, I love your stuff. I'd love to use more of it. What do you think about bringing me on as an ambassador? So that's where that came from. And as a result, yeah, I use a lot of Milwaukee stuff. I buy a lot of Milwaukee stuff. I believe in the product. I believe in the company that stands behind their product and takes care of customers. And so if this strikes you wrong, or if this is something that you don't like because I'm doing a review, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. They make good stuff. It's improved my efficiency and productivity in my shop, and so I wanted to share it with you guys. So I hope this has been helpful to you guys. I hope it shed some light on my organization and how I run the shop. I have a lot more to share. I've kind of fallen behind on videos. I apologize because I've just been buried trying to get everything up and keep the trucks running and do cool trips and all that kind of killer stuff. So I will have more coming up for you. This lev rack that I installed, I don't know if you guys can see that in the background, but that thing is next level. I can't wait to share with that, and I've got a bunch of killer trips coming up. I've done a bunch of stuff to the Burb and to the Blazer, and I have about 4 trucks waiting in the parking lot ready for me to start tearing into. So needless to say, I've got my hands full. Looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to inviting you guys down to this space for a potential get-together meet-up in the near future. So stay tuned. If you're not a subscriber, you know what to do. You got to click that little subscribe thing. We'll see you next week. Merricks Garage.